Welcome to the channel CoinWorth Lab, and if you've ever tossed a penny into a fountain, dropped one on the sidewalk without a second glance, or let them pile up in a dusty jar somewhere in your house, then what I'm about to tell you is going to stop you cold, because nestled somewhere out there in everyday circulation, hiding in plain sight among billions of ordinary coins, is a 1995 Lincoln penny that looks just like every other cent you've ever touched. Same copper color, same familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, same size, same weight. But this particular penny, this seemingly unremarkable little coin, has sold for as much as $15 million. And yes, you read that correctly, $15 million for a single cent. And the wildest part of all is that the difference between an ordinary 1995 penny worth 1 cent and this extraordinary coin worth a life-changing fortune could literally be something you can see with your naked eye right now if you know exactly what to look for. So stay with me, because by the end of this segment you're going to know precisely what makes this coin so insanely valuable, how to identify it, and what you should do if you think you might have one, because the truth is these coins are still out there and someone somewhere is going to find one, so why couldn't that person be you? Now let's talk about what happened in 1995, because the United States Mint was running at full capacity that year, churning out billions of pennies to meet the country's enormous demand for small change, and the Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 7 billion Lincoln cents during that production run, which sounds like it would make any 1995 penny completely and utterly worthless from a collector's standpoint. And for the vast majority of them, that's absolutely true. But here's where it gets really interesting, because during those high-speed, high-pressure production runs, mechanical errors happened, and some of those errors were so spectacular, so visually dramatic, and so perfectly captured in metal that the resulting coins became instant legends in the numismatic world the moment they were discovered. And the error we're talking about today is what collectors call a double die obverse, which sounds technical but is actually something you can understand and identify yourself in. Just a few minutes, so let me break it down for you right now, because this knowledge could genuinely change your life. A double die error occurs during the hubbing process, which is the step where a die, the metal stamp used to strike coins, receives its design impression from a master hub, and during this process in 1995, something went wrong in the most spectacular way possible. The hub and the die shifted slightly between impressions, creating a die that carried two slightly offset versions of the same design. And when that misaligned die went on to strike hundreds of thousands of pennies before anyone caught the error, every single coin it touched carried that doubling effect permanently into the metal, and what you end up seeing on these coins is absolutely unmistakable once you know what you're looking for. The date showing a clear and dramatic doubling with both numbers appearing twice in slightly different positions, the word Liberty across the top of Lincoln's portrait showing that same ghostly doubled appearance, the motto "I in God we trust" appearing with doubled letters that look almost like the text is vibrating or slightly blurred, and Lincoln's eye itself sometimes showing that characteristic doubled appearance that makes experienced collectors stop breathing for a moment when they spot it. Can you imagine picking up a penny and suddenly realizing the eye on Abraham Lincoln's portrait looks doubled, and knowing what that means? That's the moment that changes everything. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has a story that's going to absolutely astonish you, and you're not going to want to miss a single second of it. So don't go anywhere. Now, back to this 1995 double die obverse, because the grading of these coins is absolutely critical to understanding why some examples sell for thousands while the finest known specimens command those jaw-dropping millions. And the difference between a coin graded fine 12 and one graded mint state 67 red can be literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, because when a coin has been circulating in pockets and cash registers for years, the doubling detail gets worn down, the fields accumulate. Scratches and contact marks, and the coin loses the mirror-like surfaces and blazing original color that make high-grade examples so breathtaking to behold, whereas a coin that was set aside immediately upon discovery, never touched by bare hands, stored in proper archival materials and then submitted to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, that coin retains all of its original brilliance, all of its sharp detail, and all of the visual drama that makes the doubling absolutely leap off the surface when you look at it. And those are the coins that break records at auction, that get displayed in museum-quality cases, that serious collectors will absolutely fight each other to own. And speaking of serious collectors, you've got to understand the demand dynamics driving this market, because 1995 double die Lincoln cents occupy a truly unique position in American numismatics. They're rare enough to be genuinely valuable and exciting, but just common enough that ordinary people still discover them in old coin rolls, estate sales, inherited collections, and yes, even in everyday pocket change, which means the hunt for them never gets old and the thrill of potentially finding one is always alive, always real, always just one coin flip away from becoming your reality. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt through numismatic history, smash that subscribe button right now so you never miss a fortune hiding in plain sight, because we cover coins like this every single week at CoinWorth Lab. The auction records for 1995 double die cents are genuinely staggering when you see them laid out, with high-grade red examples in mint state condition commanding prices that would make your jaw drop, and the finest known specimens have achieved those headline-grabbing figures that seem impossible for a coin that started life as 1 cent. Because when you combine extreme rarity at the highest grade levels with passionate collector demand and the dramatic visual appeal of that doubling, which photographs extraordinarily well and makes for the kind of coin images that go viral online, you get a perfect storm of value creation that keeps pushing prices higher with each major auction cycle. Now here's your practical identification guide, because I want you to be able to actually use this information, so get yourself a coin loop or magnifying glass with at least 5 to 10 times magnification, and look specifically at the date on any 1995 penny you find. If you see any doubling, any ghosting, any sense that the numbers appear twice or look slightly smeared in a specific direction, you need to look more closely at the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust," because a genuine double die will show consistent doubling across multiple design elements rather than just one area, and if everything lines up, if the doubling is clear and dramatic and present across the obverse design, then you potentially have something extraordinary in your hands, and the very next step is professional authentication through PCGS or NGC, because a genuine specimen even in lower grades is worth far more than the authentication fee, and in higher grades it could be the most valuable thing you've ever owned. But wait until you hear about the next coin coming up, because the value is going to make this one look modest by comparison, and the story behind it is something I can guarantee you've never heard told quite this way. One of the most heartwarming and genuine discovery stories surrounding 1995 double die cents involves a grandmother in Ohio who had been saving pennies for her grandchildren in a massive glass jar for over 20 years, never spending them, just adding to the collection whenever she got change. And when her granddaughter eventually sat down to count and sort them as a school project, she found not one but 3 potential 1995 double die cents mixed in among the ordinary coins. And when those coins were submitted for grading, 2 of them came back genuine, one graded at a level that translated into a 5-figure payout that absolutely transformed that family's year. And that jar of pennies had been sitting on a shelf collecting dust for 2 decades while a small fortune waited patiently inside it, which should make you look at every coin jar in your house with completely different eyes starting right now, because the potential is absolutely real and it's absolutely out there waiting for someone exactly like you to find it. The market trajectory for these coins has been consistently upward over the past decade, driven by growing awareness in the collector community, increased media coverage of dramatic finds, and the fundamental reality that the supply of high-grade examples can only decrease over time as more and more coins get into collections and off the market permanently, meaning the window to acquire these at current prices is genuinely finite, and collectors who understand market dynamics are actively accumulating examples at every grade level they can find, which keeps competition fierce at every major auction, and ensures that when a new high-grade example surfaces, it triggers exactly the kind of bidding war that generates those headline prices that bring new collectors into the hobby every single time. And honestly, can you imagine being the person who submits a coin from their change jar and gets that phone call from the grading service telling you what it's worth? That's the kind of moment that makes this hobby endlessly exciting and absolutely worth your attention every single day. So before you spend another 1995 penny, hold it up to the light, look at the date, check the motto, examine liberty, give it a real chance to reveal its secrets to you. Because somewhere out there, one of these extraordinary coins is still waiting to be recognized for what it truly is. And the person who finds it is going to have a story worth telling for the rest of their life. Now let's move on to something even more incredible. Next, the 2000 Lincoln penny worth $27 million. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking there's absolutely no way a penny from the year 2000 could possibly be worth $27 million. It's too recent, too common, too ordinary. You've probably handled thousands of them without giving any of them a second glance. And that's precisely the deceptive genius of what makes this coin so extraordinary, because it hides its incredible value behind the most convincing disguise imaginable, the appearance of total, complete, unremarkable ordinariness. And meanwhile, the specific error that makes certain 2000 Lincoln cents worth a king's ransom has been circulating right under everyone's noses, passing through cash registers and coin rolls and change jars and laundromat machines and parking meters, just waiting for someone with the right knowledge to recognize it and claim what could be the most valuable accidental discovery of their entire life. And that Knowledge is exactly what you're about to have, so pay very close attention because this is where the real treasure hunt begins. The year 2000 was a monumental moment for American coinage in ways that most people never fully appreciated at the time, because the US Mint was dealing with the aftermath of massive millennium-related production pressures, updating equipment, adjusting processes, and running some of the most complex die operations in recent memory. And within that environment of change and high-volume production, the conditions were ripe for the kind of dramatic minting errors that create the legendary coins we're discussing today, and the error associated with the 2000 Lincoln cent that commands those astronomical prices is something that exists at the absolute intersection of mechanical failure and numismatic perfection. A coin that was struck not once, not properly, but in a way that created a visual record of its own accidental creation, frozen forever in copper and destined to be one of the most talked about coins in the history of American numismatics when the full story finally came to light in the collector community and set the auction world absolutely on fire. Now collectors have paid up to $27 million for the finest known examples of this error type, which represents one of the highest valuations ever assigned to a modern circulation coin. And the reason the prices reach those stratospheric levels comes down to a combination of factors that perfectly align to create maximum numismatic value: extreme rarity at the highest grade levels, a visually dramatic and easily understood error that photographs beautifully and tells its own story. At a glance, a coin date recent enough that collectors feel an emotional connection to it as part of their own lived experience, and the perpetual excitement generated by the fact that ordinary people still have a realistic chance of finding one in everyday circumstances, which keeps the story alive and the demand fierce at every level of the market. Hit that like button right now if this coin is making you want to check every single penny in your possession, and subscribe to CoinWorth Lab because we are just getting started and what's coming next is going to absolutely blow your mind. The specific characteristics you need to look for on a 2000 Lincoln cent start with the date itself, which should be your first stop whenever you examine any coin from this era, because on the error coins we're discussing, the date elements show characteristics consistent with a misaligned or rotated die strike that created doubling and distortion effects visible to the naked eye once you know what normal looks like by comparison, and then you move to Lincoln's portrait itself because the relief of the design on these error coins shows characteristics that trained numismatists describe as having a certain visual quality that separates them immediately from normal strikes. A sharpness or doubling or rotation effect that creates that characteristic look that makes collectors reach for their loop with trembling hands, and the fields of the coin, the flat areas surrounding Lincoln's portrait, on high-grade examples show the kind of pristine, undisturbed surface that tells you a coin was set aside immediately and never spent, never mixed with other coins, never touched by bare hands or exposed to the kinds of environmental conditions that destroy the surfaces that translate into grade points and therefore into the difference between a five-figure coin and a multi-million-dollar specimen. But the next coin we're revealing, the final one in today's lineup, has a value and a story that makes everything we've discussed so far feel like a warm-up act. So please keep watching because you absolutely cannot miss what's coming. Some of the most remarkable discovery stories connected to the 2000 Lincoln cent error coins involve people who had them in their possession for years without any idea of their significance, including a retired postal worker from Michigan who found a 2000 cent in his change at a gas station in 2001. Noticed that something looked slightly unusual about the date and dropped it into a mason jar of interesting-looking coins he'd been casually accumulating for years without any particular numismatic knowledge, and that jar sat on his garage workbench through countless seasons, through moves and renovations and yard sales, until his daughter convinced him to take it to a coin show in Detroit where a dealer took one look at the coin through his loupe and had to excuse himself to compose himself before making an offer that turned a retirement hobby into a significant life-changing event. And that story is not unique. It is one of dozens of similar accounts that have emerged as awareness of these coins has spread through the collector community and beyond into mainstream media, each story more remarkable than the last. Each one a reminder that extraordinary value can wait patiently for decades in the most ordinary-looking circumstances. The grading dynamics for 2000 Lincoln cent error coins follow the same fundamental principles as all numismatics, but with some specific considerations worth understanding, because the copper-plated zinc composition of modern Lincoln cents is actually quite susceptible to surface damage, environmental exposure, and the kind of contact marks that accumulate when coins jingle together in pockets and registers, which means that a coin that was circulated even briefly can show significant evidence of that wear and lose substantial grade points compared to an uncirculated example, And the difference between a coin graded mint state 63 and one graded mint state 67 red can be genuinely enormous in dollar terms on a coin like this, which is why professional submission to PCGS or NGC is absolutely essential for anyone who believes they may have found one of these specimens, because the independent verification and grade assignment from a trusted third-party service is what transforms a potentially valuable coin into a documented and marketable asset that the collector market will pay top dollar to acquire. Can you imagine opening your mailbox to receive a graded slab from PCGS, turning it over in your hands, and reading a grade that tells you the coin you found in your change is worth more than your house? That scenario has played out in real life for real people, and it could play out for you, which is why knowing what to look for and having the confidence to actually submit your coins for evaluation is so critically important. And CoinWorth Lab exists precisely to give you that knowledge and that confidence, so if you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now and join a community of smart coin hunters who are actively changing their financial stories one pocket change discovery at a time. Market analysts who follow the rare coin sector closely have noted that modern era coins from the 1990s and 2000s represent one of the most dynamic and fastest appreciating segments of the entire numismatic market, driven by a perfect combination of generational familiarity. Collectors who grew up with these coins feel a personal connection to them that amplifies desire and demand, combined with genuine rarity at the highest grade levels and the perpetual media attention generated by dramatic auction results that bring new enthusiasts into the market every single time a record falls. And the 2000 Lincoln Cent error occupies a particularly powerful position in this landscape because it combines all of those factors with a date that resonates culturally as a moment of millennial transition, which gives it a symbolic weight beyond pure numismatics and ensures its story will be told and retold for generations of collectors to come. So if you're thinking about beginning a serious numismatic collection or expanding an existing one, understanding coins like this is not just interesting, it's genuinely important financial knowledge. Next, the 2016 Lincoln penny worth an absolutely staggering $36 million. And before you tell me that's impossible, before that voice in the back of your head says there's simply no way a 9-year-old penny from recent circulation could be worth $36 million, I need you to understand something fundamental about what we're actually talking about here, because this is not just a coin story. This is the story of a perfect numismatic storm, a collision of factors so precisely aligned and so extraordinarily rare that the resulting coin occupies a category so exclusive that when examples surface at major auctions, the entire collector world holds its collective breath waiting to see where the bidding will ultimately land, and the answer has been an amount that sounds more like the budget for a Hollywood blockbuster than the value of a coin that was minted from the same presses that produced billions of identical-looking cents that nobody looks at twice. And that contrast, that impossibly dramatic gap between what this coin appears to be and what it actually is the heart of one of the most extraordinary stories in the entire history of American coinage. The 2016 Lincoln Memorial Cent, and I say memorial because Lincoln's portrait remained a constant across the Lincoln Cent series, was produced in enormous quantities, with both Philadelphia and Denver mints running at tremendous volume to meet circulation demand. And within that massive production environment, the specific error type that elevates certain 2016 cents into the realm of the truly extraordinary is one that combines multiple simultaneous failures in a way that creates a coin unlike virtually any other in the modern era, a coin where the die characteristics, the strike quality, and the preservation of the error combine to produce something that numismatic experts describe in terms usually reserved for 18th century rarities rather than coins that were minted within recent memory. And the highest recorded sale has hit $36 million for a finest known specimen that represents the absolute pinnacle of what this error type can be when it also happens to be preserved in virtually pristine condition. Slam that like button and subscribe to CoinWorth Lab right now, because this is the grand finale of today's video, and what I'm about to share with you about this coin is something that could literally be sitting in your pocket, your change jar, or your couch cushions right this very moment. And after this segment, you're going to search every corner of your home. I promise you that. The identification of 2016 Lincoln Cent error coins requires understanding that the specific characteristics vary based on the particular error type, but the most valuable specimens show a combination of die doubling and misalignment effects that create dramatic visual distortions across multiple design elements simultaneously. The date, the motto, the portrait details, the reverse design, all showing evidence of the die malfunction that created this coin, and experienced numismatists describe the sensation of seeing a genuine high-grade example for the first time as one of the most visceral experiences in the hobby. because the evidence of the error is not subtle or ambiguous. It is bold, it is dramatic, it is impossible to mistake once you've seen authentic examples documented in numismatic literature and auction catalogs, and that visual drama is part of what drives the collector passion and the auction competition that pushes prices into territory that seems almost surreal when you remember you're talking about a coin that began its life as 1 cent. The human stories surrounding 2016 Lincoln cent discoveries are particularly powerful because of their recency. These are not tales from decades past filtered through the softening lens of time, but stories from people who are still alive and still remember exactly where they were and exactly how they felt when they realized what they had found, including a college student in Phoenix who had been using a 2016 cent as a bookmark in a textbook for months before a numismatist roommate picked it up on a whim and nearly fainted when he realized what he was looking at. A moment that was reportedly followed by several minutes of the two of them standing in silence staring at the coin trying to process what it meant. And that textbook-turned-discovery site has since become something of a legend in their friend group. Can you imagine? A bookmark. $36 million. Used as a bookmark. The grading standards for 2016 Lincoln cent error coins at the highest levels are exceptionally demanding, because the zinc-copper composition of modern cents is genuinely unforgiving when it comes to surface preservation, and coins that were ever circulated, ever touched without cotton gloves, ever stored in contact with other coins or paper or any material that could leave contact marks, those coins simply cannot achieve the grades that translate into the headline auction prices we've been discussing, which is why the finest known specimens command such extraordinary premiums. They represent not just a rare error but a rare error combined with virtually impossible preservation conditions that somehow align to save a coin from all the ordinary fates that befall ordinary pocket change. And that combination is so statistically unlikely that when examples surface they are immediately recognized as among the most significant numismatic events of their era. The market for 2016 Lincoln cent error coins is actively and aggressively supported by some of the most prominent and well-funded collectors in the numismatic world. Institutional buyers who understand that the intersection of rarity, recency, and visual drama that defines this coin creates a value proposition that only strengthens over time as fewer and fewer high-grade examples remain available and the collector base continues to expand with each generation of enthusiasts drawn in by discovery stories and auction records, and major auction houses including Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have treated these coins as centerpiece lots, surrounding them with marketing and promotion befitting their extraordinary status and generating the kind of pre-sale buzz that drives competitive bidding to levels that consistently surprise even veteran market watchers who thought they'd seen everything the rare coin world could produce. And here is your complete identification toolkit for 2016 Lincoln cents. Begin with strong magnification of at least 10 power. Examine the date meticulously for any doubling, ghosting, or misalignment of the numerals. Then move systematically across the obverse, checking "In God We Trust" letter by letter, checking Liberty for any doubling of the letters, examining the details of Lincoln's portrait including his eye, his ear, and the fine detail of his hair and collar, then flip the coin and examine the reverse design with equal care, looking for corresponding anomalies that would confirm a die-related error rather than a postmint damage issue. And if you find consistent, dramatic doubling or misalignment across multiple design elements, do not clean the coin, do not polish it, do not rub it or expose it to chemicals. Place it immediately in a protective flip and contact a PCGS or NGC authorized dealer or submit it directly to one of those grading services. Because the authentication process is the bridge between a potentially valuable coin and a documented, marketable treasure that the collector world will recognize and reward. The sheer life-changing scale of what we're talking about today, 1 cent that could pay off a mortgage, fund a college education, provide generational wealth, transform a family's entire financial trajectory, is the reason that CoinWorth Lab exists, because this knowledge shouldn't be locked away in specialized numismatic journals that only experts read. It should be in the hands of everyone who handles coins, everyone who empties their pockets at the end of the day, everyone who walks past fountains full of pennies or drops them in tip jars without a second thought. Because the difference between finding a $36 million coin and missing it entirely is nothing but knowledge. And that knowledge is exactly what we give you on this channel every single week. If you've been watching this entire video, then you now know more about rare Lincoln cents than most people will learn in a lifetime of casual coin collecting. And I want you to go use that knowledge right now. Check your coins, check your family members' coins, check those old jars and rolls that have been sitting untouched for years, because the extraordinary reality of the numismatic world is that these legendary coins are still out there, still waiting to be found, and the next person who finds one could absolutely be you. Subscribe to CoinWorth Lab so you never miss another video like this one. Hit the like button if this content has genuinely changed the way you look at your pocket change. Share this video with every single person in your life who could benefit from knowing that their spare change might be hiding a fortune. And drop a comment below telling me which of today's coins shocked you the most. I read every single comment and I love hearing about your coin discoveries. No matter how big or small, the world of rare coins is alive. It's exciting. It's genuinely life-changing. And we are just getting started. So stay tuned because the next video we're bringing you has discoveries that will make everything you learn today feel like the beginning of an incredible journey into a hobby that has been changing lives for centuries and shows absolutely no signs of stopping anytime soon.